We've all been told the same thing. If you want to get rich, you just have to earn more money. Simple, right? But what if I told you the single biggest factor in your financial success wasn't your salary, but your zip code? Today, we're going to dig into a hidden wealth destroyer I like to call the geography trap.
Okay, to really get this, let's meet two guys. First up is David. He's a software developer in San Francisco, and he's pulling in a solid $122,000 a year. Not bad. And over here, this is his old college roommate, Ryan. Ryan's also a software developer, but he lives in Boise, Idaho, making $94,000. Now on paper, David's the winner, right? I mean, he's making almost 30 grand more.
But here's the real question, the one that changes everything. Who is actually getting richer? The answer? Well, it's probably not who you think, and it uncovers a really powerful truth about how you build wealth today.
So let's actually break down the financial reality behind these two salaries. This is where the story gets really, really interesting.
So David, with his six-figure salary, you'd think he's living the dream, but he's actually struggling. His one-bedroom apartment costs him over $40,000 a year, just on rent. So after taxes, rent, and just how expensive everything is in San Francisco, he's lucky if he can sock away about $400 a month. At 31 years old, after 6 years of working his tail off, his net worth is just $23,000 and a used car. He feels exhausted, like he's just constantly falling behind.
Now let's check in on Ryan over in Boise. Remember, he's earning less money, but get this, he lives in a bigger apartment for less than half the price. Because his overall cost of living is so much lower, he's able to save an incredible $1,800 a month. That is more than 4 times what David saves. So yeah, David makes more money, but Ryan is the one who's actually building wealth.
Okay, so this isn't some weird paradox. It's a very real concept that we're calling the geography trap. Let's break down exactly what this means and how it works. Here is the absolute key to all of this. A dollar is not always a dollar. The geography trap is what happens when your big, shiny salary in an expensive city just gets eaten alive by expenses. It leaves you with less real wealth than someone with a smaller salary in a more affordable place. It all comes down to one thing: purchasing power.
And just look at how extreme these differences can be. The cost of living in San Francisco is a staggering 80% higher than the national average. Meanwhile, a city like Oklahoma City is actually 20% below average. The gap between those two financial worlds is it's massive.
Let's translate this into real money, because this is wild. If you earn 100 grand in San Francisco, that money only buys you what about $55,000 would in an average American city. Your purchasing power is almost cut in half. But that same $100,000 salary in Oklahoma City, it gives you the purchasing power of $125,000. That is a life-changing difference in your financial reality.
And this trap, it doesn't just mess with your monthly budget. Oh no, over time, it creates a Grand Canyon-sized gap in your wealth. Let's just project this out over 20 years and see what happens.
Okay, so if Ryan in Boise just invests his $1,800 a month and gets a pretty average 8% return, in 20 years, he'll have over $1 million, a millionaire. That is the power of consistent savings when it's supercharged by a lower cost of living. He gets rich simply by choosing an affordable place to live.
David, on the other hand, our high earner in San Francisco, investing his $400 a month, will have about $236,000 after those same 20 years. Look, that's a respectable amount of money for sure, but it is over $800,000 less than Ryan. $800,000. That's a staggering amount of money. And that $800,000 difference, it didn't come from a secret stock tip or a better work ethic. The single biggest variable that made all the difference was their geography. It was all about where they chose to stand.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Yeah, but I have to be in an expensive city for my career. That's where the opportunities are. And you know what? For generations, that was absolutely true. But a massive shift is underway, and it is changing the entire game. For the longest time, cities like New York and San Francisco pretty much had a monopoly on the best opportunities. You paid that high cost of living, like a tax really, for access to the best jobs and the best networks. But that premium, that justification for the high cost, it's collapsing.
And a huge reason for this is, of course, the rise of remote work. A 2023 Stanford study found that 28%, almost a third, of all paid workdays in America are now done from home. And let me be clear, this isn't some temporary pandemic trend. It's a stable, structural shift in how we work.
The proof is everywhere.
Remote job postings are up over 500% since 2019. That's not a typo. Major companies in tech, finance, you name it, they now have robust remote policies. And recent data even shows that remote workers are getting promoted at similar, if not slightly higher rates. The old assumption that you have to be physically there to get ahead, for millions of us, that's just not true anymore.
So, all of this brings us to the most important question of all. It's time to turn this analysis on yourself and ask, is your zip code actually worth the price you're paying? See, by choosing to live in an expensive city, you're making an implicit trade. You're saying that the culture, the nightlife, the restaurants, whatever it is you love about it, is worth the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost wealth you could be building somewhere else. But is that a conscious choice? Have you ever actually sat down and run the numbers?
Here's a super simple framework to help you make that conscious choice. Step 1. Calculate your true location cost. What's the real difference in your potential savings rate? Step 2. Audit your location dependency. Could your job be done remotely? Don't just assume, ask. And step 3. Run a 10-year projection. Seriously, seeing the dollar difference in black and white, it's often a huge wake-up call.
Of course, I get it. It's not just about the math. There are real-world concerns. You might be thinking, what about taxes if I move abroad? What about healthcare? And what about the very real challenge of starting over and feeling lonely?
Let's just knock these out real quick because they're important. For taxes, if you move abroad, things like the foreign earned income exclusion can seriously help you out. For healthcare, you might be surprised to find that comprehensive international plans can often cost a fraction of what you're already paying in big city insurance premiums. And for loneliness, there are thriving, welcoming expat and digital nomad communities all over the globe. These aren't tiny hurdles for sure, but they are absolutely solvable.
So we end here. Your location, your zip code, it isn't your identity, but it might be the most powerful variable in your financial equation. You now know exactly how to calculate the cost of staying put. So the only question left is, are you really getting what you're paying for?